a village boy, Aman, stepping into the city for his first job interview. I hadn't slept the night before. Not because I wasn't tired, but because my heart was too loud. Each thump echoed the same thought: tomorrow is your chance. I lay on the thin mattress beside mother, watching the fan turn lazily, my bag packed beside me. Inside that bag were only the bare essentials: a copy of my resume folded neatly, 2 pens, an ID card, and the borrowed shirt my elder brother once wore to his farewell function. The clock ticked past midnight when I quietly stood up, tied my laces. Oh wait, I forgot, there were no laces. Just the same torn slippers I had worn for 2 years. My leather shoes, the only pair I ever had, cracked beyond repair last month during a wedding. And we didn't have enough money to buy another one. I looked at my mother one last time, her tired hand still resting near the stove as if dreaming of tomorrow's chapatis. I placed a note beside her pillow. It said, "I'm going to the city for the interview, Ma. Don't worry, I'll be back with a job." The train left the platform at 2:15 a.m., and I sat by the window, watching my village fade into the darkness. My heart felt heavier than my bag. I wasn't just carrying documents, I was carrying my family's hope, my brother's sacrifices, my mother's quiet prayers. Every bump of the train track reminded me how far away I was from everything familiar, and yet how close I was to my dream. When I reached the city in the early morning haze, everything felt bigger: the buildings, the noise, even the sky. I had never seen so many cars in one place. The smell of petrol mixed with roadside breakfast stalls. It was overwhelming, but I held on to my purpose. I had memorized the office address the night before. I asked a traffic policeman for directions, and he pointed to a road lined with glass towers and men in suits. My destination. As I walked, my slippers began to betray me. The left one had a crack, and it made a flapping sound with every step. I was tempted to take them off and walk barefoot, but the roads were hot, and I didn't want to look more out of place than I already did. When I reached the building, I stopped near the entrance. The security guard looked me up and down, hesitated for a second, but let me in when I showed him the interview call letter. The office building was taller than anything I had ever seen. Shiny, cold, intimidating. I stood in the elevator with 6 others, all dressed perfectly. Their leather shoes polished, their watches gleaming, and hair neatly set. I looked down at my feet, dusty, open slippers with dry cracks on my heels. I tried to stand at the corner of the lift so no one would notice. When I entered the waiting area, there were about a dozen others. All looked confident. Some were flipping through their resumes. Others were talking to each other about previous internships and work experience. I sat quietly, trying not to attract attention. I noticed a few people glance at my slippers and then quickly look away. My cheeks burned, but I kept telling myself, "You're not here for fashion. You're here for a future." The receptionist called my name. My palms were sweaty, but I wiped them on my pants. As I walked into the interview room, I saw 3 people seated across a table. 2 men and a woman. They all smiled politely. The woman asked me to sit. My heart was pounding so loud, I was scared they could hear it. "Tell us about yourself," she said gently. I took a deep breath. "My name is Aman," I began, voice trembling. "I've completed my graduation in arts from a government college in my village. I taught students part-time to support my family. I don't have experience in a company, but I have experience with struggle." They were listening. I continued, slowly gaining confidence. "I know I'm not dressed well. I couldn't afford new clothes or formal shoes. But I assure you, I've worked hard to be here. I used to study under a streetlight when we had no electricity. I've walked 5 kilometers every day to attend school. I've never failed a subject, and I've never given up." There was a pause. One of the interviewers looked at the others and then back at me. He asked, "Why should we hire someone with no corporate experience?" I smiled, just a little. Because I know the value of an opportunity. If you give me one chance, I won't waste it. They nodded and thanked me. I left the room, not knowing what to think. I sat outside for a while, staring at the floor, avoiding eye contact with the others. After about 20 minutes, they started calling others one by one. I knew I had done my best, whether it was enough or not, I didn't know. I stepped out of the building and sat on the footpath nearby. I opened my bag, took out the leftover paratha my mother had packed the previous night. It was cold now, but I ate it slowly. Every bite tasted like home. The sun was beginning to set. I had no idea where I'd sleep tonight. I had just enough money left to buy a small meal, maybe a bus ticket back. As I stood up to leave, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Aman? Yes, this is the HR department. Congratulations. You've been selected. Your training starts next week. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Me? I asked. Yes, you. I don't remember what I replied. I think I said thank you 3 times. Maybe more. My fingers were trembling, eyes full, lips shivering. I looked up at the sky. I didn't say a word. But inside, I whispered, "Ma, I did it." That evening, I walked through the crowd, still in those old slippers. But my steps felt different, firmer. I didn't feel small anymore. I felt seen. The city didn't look so big now. The people didn't feel like strangers. And my feet? They still hurt. But my heart had never been lighter. I promised myself, the first salary I get, I'll buy a pair of formal shoes. Not to fit in, but to remember. And another pair, for Ma. Because she walked miles with worn-out slippers so I could take one step forward. Subscribe now for more interesting and exciting videos. Stay tuned for amazing content.